So welcome, dear Jedoxians, dear Jedox partners, dear Jedox fans, dear ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another highlight of our webinar series. This time, we want to talk about the integration between Jedox and Power BI and how you can achieve more with your data and make your planning more collaborative with this integration. At the beginning, like normal, we are going a little bit through the housekeeping rules. The housekeeping rules are all participants are on mute the whole webinar. Please ask your questions in the questions window, and all the questions will be collected and will be answered at the end of the webinar. If you don't have enough time for all the questions, then we will, of course, answer the question and send you an email with the answers. A short view on the agenda. At the first point, we want to have a short Jedox intro. Then we are going into an introduction to Power BI. Then we would like to talk a little bit about Achieve More with Power BI and Jedox before we handing over, which is the main part of that webinar, a live demo of this integration. And then at the end, switching into a question and answer session. I'm very happy that today Edwin Huber from Microsoft is joining our session. He is Senior Partner Technology Strategist and will guide you through the introduction into Power BI. In addition to that, my colleague Dominik Seebacher, consultant from the Solution Advisory Team, will guide you through the live demo. My name is Andreas Simon. I'm since 25 years now in the EPM space, working a long time now with Jedox. I'm responsible and director sales for Middle East and Africa, based in Dubai. A short intro to Jedox. I mean, everybody of you know who is Microsoft, but perhaps not everybody know who is Jedox, which hopefully will change now. So the Jedox overview is that we are one of the leading enterprise performance management vendors globally with a unified end-to-end FP&A solution. Why FP&A? Because we are not only focused on the Office of Finance, we are also having planning applications for all other departments in total. That is coming up for an integrated enterprise planning and analytics solution. We have a high customer satisfaction. We are rolling out our solutions in more than 140 countries at the moment, where we're working with more than 250 business partners and have more than 2,500 customers. Gartner is naming us as one of the top 5 FP&A cloud solutions in the world, and also the Bark Institute, a big analyst in Europe, is very happy about our customer business value. So coming back to the introduction to Power BI, and then what I want now is handing over to Edwin, who will guide you from Microsoft to the Power BI solution.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Hello, everybody. I'm going to give you a brief and general overview of Power BI, what functionality and features it offers at the moment, and then we will move into the specific features and advantages that Jedox offer with respect to planning and forecasting. So when we speak with customers these days, they need to quickly get an overview of their data. To this end, we offer a low-code platform to help with productivity. We regularly hear feedback that we have the data, we just don't know how to make the most of it. That is what the Jedox team are going to show you shortly. The Power Platform itself began with Power BI a few years ago with a self-service model for visualization of data. This has been successively extended with capabilities to create apps and automate business processes, and now with intelligent agents like chatbots and capabilities to create your own AI models. Specifically, Power BI enables us to easily connect to a vast number of different data sources to show and visualize these to our users and customers in mobile apps and reports. Where it used to be just visualizations, we're bringing more and more AI capabilities into the platform to support the user with their analysis of data. To give you a brief overview of the Power BI family, we have a designer tool, Power BI Desktop. You use it to put in data, manipulate, and share this. When we want to share the reports created in Power BI Desktop, we use the service via Power BI Pro, or we can use dedicated Azure instances and Power BI Premium. Power BI Premium is a capacity-based offering that includes flexibility to publish reports broadly across an enterprise without requiring recipients to be licensed individually per user. This is going to offer greater scale and performance than shared capacity in the Power BI service. So Power BI is becoming more and more like PowerPoint for your data. There's more and more functionality being added. Power BI reports and Designer are getting more and more like PowerPoint presentations. We can configure visuals with themes, templates, and we can modify multiple visuals at the same time, enabling us to get more insights out of our data and present this in an easy to consume manner. And now I'd like to tell you a little bit about the change that we're seeing in the data culture of our customers. What has changed with the creation and use of reports? We used to have decision makers and their supporting analysts who used, collated, and created reports. This has now changed. We now have expectations around live data, which is being used more and more, especially by operations staff, to monitor and take action. We're also seeing that organizations are offering data to their employees to share an awareness, but also enable them to make informed decisions in their day-to-day work about the data and information that matters to them. Of course, as we open up access to our company data, we need to ensure that security is observed and more users have access to this data. We are now using Microsoft Information Protection, which allows us to define and automate labeling of data to help avoid inadvertent disclosure. Here you can see the sensitivity marked as highly sensitive. We can export data from Power BI to Excel and maintain our classification of data between applications. So here you can see an export being run, and when we open this in Excel, the data still has its classification, as was also seen in Power BI. Last but not least, we can ensure that certain functionality can be blocked by the administrators using our Cloud App Security service. Here, administrators can prevent the download of sensitive data. As we think about the modern world and the digitalization of companies and the democratization of AI, enhancing human activities and interactions is becoming ever more important. AI is built into Power BI and connected to the underlying Azure technologies and can be used to help analyze data and derive relationships between data as well. An example of this is the QA bot, which can be used with natural language to ask questions of our reports and data. We also support real-time data and can consume real-time data from IoT sensors and other sources. Depending on your needs, we have added a lot of features and capabilities to support real-time data requirements, like change detection to update reports when data changes, and we can also automatically update pages and report sections on a schedule. Another important feature, of course, in operations, reports are good, but we might need to take action based on the data. In this example, you can see how an action is taken via a Power App from within the report. We can send a request based on the data to affect this data. We can now also create automations from within our reports to automate processes which are triggered based on conditions in our data, rather than needing to go to a different system to enable this automation. And here you can see how the circular loop is closed. We can take action on data, we can automate or trigger automation based on data or analysis, all thanks to the underlying service and features offered by the Power Platform and integrations in the Power Platform. And now I shall pass you back to our friends at Jedox, and they will show you how you can achieve more using Power BI and Jedox together.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Very helpful, very insightful, all the topics you mentioned about Power BI. What I would like to do now, before we are switching to the live demo, would like to give you a brief insight into what was the idea behind the integration and how you can achieve more with Jedox and Power BI. So what we do as Jedox, every day, every single day, with the whole team in Jedox creating integrated planning, budgeting, and forecast solution for our customers. The whole topic, what we call now EPN, Enterprise Performance Management. Of course, Enterprise Performance Management is not the only thing, but you have already normally, in addition to that, a business intelligence platform where you can visualize data, where you can analyze data, build dashboards, reports, whatever. And in addition to that, to complete the whole picture you need to have a very strong integration layer to aggregate data from system of records like CRM system, ERP, supply chain management, HCM systems, and you want to be able to drill down perhaps to the single transactional level. For this, today we are talking about the Microsoft Power Platform for the visualization and analyzing of the data, and of course we can integrate ourselves with our very strong integration platform, which exists in the Jedox platform, to Microsoft Dynamics 365. So we want to make your planning more collaborative. How we do that is we have a marketplace at Jedox, which you can access, where you will find pre-built configurable apps for integrated business planning. So not only the Office of Finance for cash flow, balance sheet, P&L, but also for HR planning, for sales planning, for procurement, marketing planning, and all of these apps are integrated in the back, and the data is flowing through the application into your balance sheet and P&L. So these configurable pre-built applications we are combining with a fast, intuitive business modeling platform. So everything what you need in addition to the configurable apps, you can build very easily in that platform, to make sure consistent data model and harmonized workflows are across the whole integration. One of the ideas also was that beside a very powerful web and mobile user interface, we also have a very, very powerful Excel integration, because Excel normally is one of the tools where people want to work with since years. So we have an Excel integration where you're using Excel as a user interface, but all your data and your structure still residing in the Jedox database. So instead of only having web and mobile, you also have an Excel integration, and the users can choose which interface you want to use for their planning purposes. So in essence, we have a unified planning and financial reporting. When we go to customers, we see more and more that Power BI is the state-of-the-art solution for dashboarding, visualization, and analytics. So what the idea was that we had is, why not combining one of the most powerful EPM tools in the world together with the most powerful BI and analytics and dashboarding and visualization tool. So we integrated Jedox with Power BI. We have now, with the newest version, O Data Hub integration, which is very native. So we can switch data from Jedox to Power BI. We integrate Jedox into the Power BI user interface, where you can now do budgeting, planning, forecasting in Jedox with integrated driver-based planning. We have a AI engine where you can not only do time series prediction, but also prediction via driver-based simulations. We can connect data from any ERP CRM system, and on the same time now you have the connection to Power BI, where you can create dashboards in minutes in minutes, can interact with data visualization, have also the innovative AI, which you heard already from Edwin, and a native Microsoft and third-party integration. So the whole cycle of planning, analyzing, importing is now fulfilled in the very, very deep integration between these tools, which we will see in a very short time frame now. So what is the benefit for you? One benefit is you have common data for analytics and planning. So you eliminate data silos and inconsistencies because you don't have any more data silos for two different tools. You have one data set for which you can use for planning, budgeting, and forecasting, but also for the visualization and dashboard. You keep planning, budgeting, forecasting, data always current, because in the moment when you change data in your planning application, it will be automatically refreshed in your visualization tool. So there you avoid redundancy and reduce manual processes. The second benefit for you is a single intuitive experience. Imagine that all your people can go into Power BI and will find there not only a dashboard and visualization tool, but also access to budgeting planning functionality. So we provide an intuitive analytics and planning in a familiar interface. So one-stop shop for your whole enterprise for doing dashboarding, analytics, but also for doing budgeting planning. And we can include our formatted financial performance reports and dashboards and apps from Power BI. So turn your Power BI investment, like I already said, into the go-to place for enterprise-wide performance management. That is exactly what the head of business application from Microsoft in Germany, Mr. Luciano, said. The user works in their familiar environment like Power BI, and they doesn't have to worry about the surroundings because we manage it for them. The third benefit is that the successful finance business partnering, that is exactly where the whole Office of Finance are going to now, is that you can create, like here in that case study from our customer at NHBC in England, you can create stakeholder meetings, which they can now do in just 15 minutes instead of hours. So quickly create visualization with financial planning and analysis data because the data is already available in PowerPoint. You can monitor actors, their targets, forecast this in Power BI and can immediately design scenarios, as many as you want, for business decision makers. Saying that, I want to go now directly to the live demo so that Dominic, my colleague, can show you how this is working in the demo, in the product. Over to you, Demo.
Thank you, Andreas, and welcome everybody here at the Office of Finance. Here at our Jedox application we have set up in the Office of Finance at our company Bikers Best. As the name suggests, we are selling bicycles all over the world, and we are in our company responsible for everything around planning, budgeting, and forecasting. And we are also providing relevant data, relevant tooling, and relevant reports to our stakeholders around the company. And one of our key projects in recent days and months was to integrate Jedox, our integrated planning application, into our strategic BI and analytic tool, Power BI. And in the next scenarios, I want to show you the progress and what we already achieved with the integration of Jedox and Power BI, so that we can give our stakeholders a kind of a one window strategy, that they use their tool of choice, in that case Power BI, and we enhance it with our planning capabilities and with all relevant data and reports. So in the first scenario, we are about to start off our budgeting phase for 2021. And for that, we start here with our comprehensive P&L statement. And as we can see in the first column, we have actual data in here. We have a forecast in the system. The forecast 3+9 is the most current forecast, and the empty column is the budget for 2021. As I said, we want to start now to collect all the budgets for the next year. And typically in our company, the first step is to do the sales planning. And for that, we had yesterday a meeting with our executive team, and we talked about the top line or the top-down budget, And the first step is now to key in the numbers we agreed with the executive team in our top-down report here. So in the next few minutes, we are working with the customer camping and sports store, but for the top-down budget, we are switching quickly to all customers so that we can easily key in the target for all our customers, respectively for all our sales reps and account managers. The target for 2021 will be based on the forecast 3+9, and we have to increase it by 5%. So that is the target for 2021. That was distributed to more to the lower levels here, also of all our customers in Europe. But for that scenario, we want to work on that high level. We also have a first number for the target 2022. That should be based on the target 2021, and we have to increase it by 1%. So for now, we have the targets, and then as a second step, we can start the workflow for the bottom-up budget collection. So we go to our workflow hub, where we also have a pre-selection here to Freiburg, where our camping and sports store reseller 471 is placed. And if we now start the workflow, our colleague Steven, which is the account manager for camping and sports store, receives an email so that he has a notification to do for him. And it just arrives in the inbox from Steven, and he has there a notification that there is something to do for him. And we as Office of Finance, we designed this email also with a link for him, which takes him directly to his Power BI application. So that there is no question marks what and where he needs to do something. He knows exactly, or is taken directly to his report where he has to key in numbers. As you can see, the report is pre-selected for camping and sports store and for the budget 2021. And now I hide here the navigation menu. Then we can key in the numbers, because now I'm in the role of the planner. I'm Steven now, and now I can enter my budget values. And I can base my budget values on different presets, but we start with a copy target that we can base our numbers of the target, which was set by the Office of Finance and the executive team. Now I could also adjust the units, the unit price on an aggregated level, but I could also adjust it on a monthly level. But for that, I leave it like this. And the road bikes, also I base it on a target 2021. Touring bikes, we start to sell them. We want to sell 1,200 units, and even distribution over the months as a starting point for this product category at the price of 500. And what's also new is that we have, or that we launch, an application which is already available in the App Store, which has a subscription price of $5 each month. And we release it, we release it in March, and we expect 500 subscribers. And then in the following months, we expect that we have a 2% growth each month, so that we have also a revenue stream here with subscriptions around this reseller. So, and then the next thing I want to do as a planner is I want to have visual representation of this data in Power BI. So for that, there is a button which refreshes the Power BI report. Yeah, and as you can see here, the timestamp was changed. I'm here on UTC time, and then I can go to my Power BI report either with that menu, or I can go back to the navigation and change to the sales planning report. And here we have a Power BI report, which has as a basis data. And as we can see here, we have a comparison between the target, which was set by the Office of Finance and the executive team, and the budget we just keyed in, which was 10.3 million. And now this is a Power BI report, and we can use all the nice functionalities Power BI is offering us. We can work with the visuals, we can interact with the visuals, and start also exploring that data by clicking all the different elements here. And as a next step, I can go back to the sales planning entry screen, because for me the budget looks good, and then I want to pass on the workflow to back to the Office of Finance, that they can review my budget. For that, I click here on the workflow icon, and I leave a little comment, and I click here, I click proceed. And if I close that window, everything is turning white. I have no more access to the data because I passed on the workflow. I cannot change the data anymore. So that was the planner role, and Stephen now handed over the workflow, and we go back to the Office of Finance. Here we have kicked off that workflow, and if you refresh that page now, we see that we have a progress, and that we also have received a comment from Stephen that the budget is ready and we should go on and check it. So we skip the examination and the check of his budget, but we go back to the profit and loss statement where we initially started, and here we see the empty column is not empty anymore. We received on the top line of our P&L the 10.3 million, which Stephen just planned. Yeah, this is a nearly real-time aggregation of all the budgeting data, so that we have we are all the time up to date. So that was it for the first scenario, the sales planning, where we started with top-down planning, kicked off a workflow, and we also did some bottom-up planning. In the next scenario, we go over to the executive team, because they have their own application, which they received also from us, from the Office of Finance, so that they also can work with financial planning data in Power BI. For that, we change to the executive app. And the first screen is again the P&L statement we just had a look at. So the executive team can also see that 10.3 million are already budgeted, so they also have all the time overview about all the data in the system, and they don't need to rely on a nightly load or kind of scheduled load. All the data which is keyed in Jedox, which Stephen just did, are immediately available for all the users. And they can also have a look at the balance sheet and the cash flow, but in this scenario, we want to go to scenario modeling, to strategic planning, because there are some stuff we need to consider for next year. What we can do here, we can build up different scenarios. For that, we choose the scenario for next year, 2021, and we want to do scenario modeling for our German subsidiary. We could also do it for all the other subsidiaries or on a total group level. And at that time, we want to model with the impact on total revenue, but we can also change in the hierarchy of the P&L what we want to model, what kind of impact we want to model. So at that time, we use total revenue. And we start off with a baseline for our scenarios. We have two valid baselines in the system. On the one hand side, the actuals from the previous year, which are 149 million. And we have the latest estimates of the current year, which are 164 million. That is the forecast 3 + 9 we just saw in our P&L statement in the column in the middle. And if we go here to that initiative, we see that's also on a P&L hierarchy distributed of the whole months of the whole year 2021. So if we want to, we could now refine that data on a monthly level in a more granular way. But here we have our 164 million total revenue, and we leave this one like it is, and we close it, and we assign now this baseline to the strategic, the worst, and the best case scenario. As you can see here, it's clicking and modeling, so it's easy to use. We could also play around now if we do with the worst case scenario with the actuals from the previous year. And the next step, after we establish the baseline for our scenarios, we can model some initiatives. And as we can see here, there are already 4 initiatives in the system. We have a key account initiative in Europe, which is 24 million, and we assign it to the strategic and to the best scenario. We have an onshore key production, which we assign to the best scenario. We have a churn scenario, which we will assign to the worst case scenario, and we have an expansion in Asia, which we also assign to the best scenario. But before we assign it, we can have a look at the 17 million here. As we can see, the cells are lightly gray, so we can work with the data and adjust that data. For example, if I want to adjust that 2.1 million, I can say I want to increase it with 5%. And for that, in Jedox, we have powerful shortcuts where you can work with Jedox and planning and entering data very fast and effectively. So we adjusted it with 5%, and we could also adjust it, for example, with at 5K or 5,000. That is also possible. There are numerous multiple ways to adjust the values, but for now we also can have a look at the planning assistant, which is all the time available for the Jedox users, which also comes up nicely in Power BI. There is our basic functionality, so-called splashing, and there are also some more advanced planning capabilities. And that wizard or assistant guides the user how to use these functionalities on the current selection. And this time we can add a percentage of 5% at the current selection of 2.2 million and execute it. And in the end, we have a total revenue of 17.8 million. And if we close it, we have it immediately here available, and we can then assign it to the best scenario. And in the end, we have the 3 scenarios in comparison next to each other. So we have 3 columns we can compare to in a comprehensive P&L statement. And as a final step, we can also use all the great Microsoft integration capabilities, because we can also share this link to this report in our executive teams channel, so that the colleagues of the executive team can also have a look at this strategic modeling and scenario planning. So that was the second scenario I want to present to you. And the final scenario is a hands-on scenario. And for that, we change again to our third application here, the Analyst app. Because as we all learned from Edwin, and as we're all aware of, the demand is growing for people who understand data, who can work with data, who can interpret the data and really go into depth of the data. And for that, in our company, we founded an analyst department, and the Office of Finance is now providing an analyst app and also some reports and insight for the analysts of the financial data of the Jedox data. And the first step was that they have a flexible tool where they can analyze the financial data, which is stored in the Jedox database. Because of that, they have here a view with it where they can use the Jedox ad hoc analysis capabilities. They can here work with the data. If they have the rights, they can change the data. If they have not the rights, they can just view it. But what is also really nice, they can collaborate with their colleagues because they can also save these ad hoc views and give them a name. And for example, if we change here, we have here the planning values, and we can also change here to a different view, article by month, which was constructed by a colleague in the analyst team. And if we go back to this version by month Europe, we see here are different versions of the data over months. And the Office of Finance received now a request from the analyst team that they want to have a visual representation of this data. The data resides at the moment in the Jedox database, but the representation should be in Power BI. So the Office of Finance has also some skilled Power BI developers. We are going to now, because we need to use this view version by month Europe and bike and make some charts and create a Power BI report and publish that report back in here in the analyst app so that they have the requested visual representation of this view. So we are doing this now. We are switching to Power BI desktop, where we can create a Power BI report. And for that, we need to connect to Jedox. And Jedox released just last week one new great capability, which is a so-called OData Hub. And that enables third-party tools like Power BI, Tableau, or Qlik to connect to Jedox. And Jedox then serves as a data source for these systems. And for that, we have to use the OData connection. For example, Power Query or Excel is also supporting the OData functionality. For that time, I don't configure it. I did it previously before the webinar. Then I can go to recent sources, and here we have the connection to the Jedox database we have just worked with in the two previous scenarios. And as we can see here, we have the connection established already. And with the first click here, I see all the databases which are in my Jedox cloud instance. So the OData Hub works on all the Jedox cloud instances. And then we can transform that data. So we can use all the great functionality Power Query is offering to us. So there we have that connection. We select the fourth database because I know the view we are searching is in the database one platform, and we could connect to data in that database either via dimensions. We can load dimension data into Power BI. We can directly connect to the whole cube where the data resides, or we can use views. And as we learned, we had just the view version by month, which was used by the analysts. And then we go here, click it one step further. And views are kind of a best practice because they can serve as a decoupling layer, and views allow us to shape the data and to define the data we want to expose to Power BI so that we are in full control what is exposed to Power BI. So, and the third is our version by month Euro bike view. And if I click here table, then we are on row level. I have just to expand here. I can select or deselect columns I need or I like. In that case, I leave everything in. And now we have the data from that view here available in Power Query. What I can do now is add some calculations, add rows, delete rows, do some renaming, do some intelligence, which Power Query allows us to do. But for that time, we're just append and apply everything to our data model as a first draft we want to share with the analyst team. Then our first visualization should be a matrix, and then we can use all the easy and nice functionality which Power BI Desktop offers us to build up visualizations. And I want to get rid of the subtotals here so that we have our first visualization. And then as a second visualization based on the same settings, we want to have a chart. We need to adjust here a little bit, that makes sense. Adjust also the sorting. And that should be fine for a first draft of that report, of the visualization of the requested view and the data in Jedox. So, and then as a second step, I want to publish that data to the Analyst app. We save it. And we publish it to the Analyst workspace. And now the publishing takes 1 or 2 short seconds. But let me add some comments on our OData Hub. As I said previously, this is not limited to Power BI, but Power BI is surely the best tool to work with that. But all the tools who support OData functionality can make use of the Jedox OData Hub, so that, as I said, Jedox will then serve as a data source for that tools, and the tools can then work with the Jedox data. And in case of the Power BI architecture, Jedox is then one more foundational piece for the whole data, which is available in Power BI. So as we see here, the publishing was successful, and we have to do some maintenance in the workspace to make actually the report available in the Analyst app. For that, we go back to our workspaces, and we have here the Analyst workspace, and we have to update the app because we used the app functionality, kind of a deployment for the end user, which is a nice way to handle the reports in Power BI and present everything we established to the end user. And then we can go to the app again, and we start off with the view we just saw, which is a direct insight into the Jedox database with our ad hoc capabilities, with our ad hoc views. And here we have now the use case Analyst report live. And as we can see, we have now a visual representation of that view in Power BI. What else can we do? We can quickly adjust maybe one value and reload the Power BI report. So for that, I have access to change actually the numbers. We want to have 100,000 in the budget version for April 2020. And in the background, I need to refresh on my second screen the data set, which was published to the workspace, but this is a matter of seconds. And then we can go back to the report. We also need to refresh the visuals. And then we have the 100,000 here on the budget version and also in the chart. And that is our provided Power BI report, which has Jedox as a data source inside. So for that, I'm done with my demo. Thank you, and I'm looking forward for the Q&A session, and back to you, Andreas.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Great insight, sensational solution. What have we seen? We have seen a nice native access from Jedox to Power BI. So we can instant refresh Jedox data in Power BI. We can use visualization and dashboards everywhere, which gives us the capability to have Power BI, the one-stop shop for enterprise performance management and business intelligence. We can write back values from Power BI into Jedox and can include Jedox formatted financial reports and views into Power BI dashboards and apps. Wonderful. So that solution, Jedox for Power Platform, is now complementing our solutions which we have already. Jedox for Excel and Office. Of course, who knows Jedox? We have a very strong Excel integration and a strong Word and PowerPoint add-in already. We are integrated now in the Power Platform. We have the Jedox OData Hub integration and native integration. We have Jedox for Dynamics. And of course, the Jedox solution in the cloud is running on Azure. So very nicely integrated into the whole Microsoft ecosystem. Coming now to the Q&A session, I would like to have the questions which we received over the presentation. So let's go back to our expert panel. The first question which we have received from our participants is, we've been told that Power BI Premium can only refresh the reports 48 times a day. How does that support real-time reporting? Edwin.
Maybe I can quickly take that question, because just to sort it out, the refresh in Power BI, as you're right, are 48 times on premium capacity, but I referenced to the real-time reporting when you work with with Jedox. It was the real-time in Jedox reporting.
Okay, so that is support real-time reporting is given with Jedox.
Yeah, but as the question is saying, or as the participant, it is right. Power BI has some refresh limits. Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible to get data streaming instead of the user having to take action to update? Dominic.
We don't support the direct query. We have to update the data with a kind of an action. But as we are starting out now with the OData stream, we are certainly have some solutions around that.
Okay. Does Power BI reload the entire data set, or can it do delta load or increased performance for increased performance?
From my point of view, it's a full load, but maybe Edwin has some other insights for us here.
So I'd also like to go back to the first question regarding the refresh. So there are different types of data sets, and with a real-time data set, how the data is updated is different to maybe when you are refreshing data. So we need to consider what type of data is being displayed, and then that can also be, is it a push data set? Is it a streaming data set? Is it maybe a pub/nub streaming data set? So depending on the type of data, how we work with that data and how we display that data will be different. Now, the question will go back to Jedox, which types of data sets they support, but that's more where I would see this, this type of question going. So what type of data sets do you support? Depending on the data set, then how we update the data will be different.
Yeah, I think at the moment we're just supporting the kind of data sets you have to update. So we don't support direct query data sets, and actually for the real-time data sets, I'm not sure. Maybe this is a feature we built in the future, but at the moment I think we don't have it.
Yeah. So I mean we do support incremental refresh on very large data sets, but yeah, we'd need to know the exact scenario and the type of data, the size of the data that needs refreshing to maybe give a properly qualified answer. But certainly there are options for incremental refresh, and there are a lot of options around streaming real-time data and working with real-time data.
In addition to that, we will send a fully answer to that topic also via email to all the participants. Jedox cubes and data is sourced for Power BI. Does this have any influence on Power BI user license price? It is like it is. If you want to use Power BI and you are a user of it, you have to pay for it, or it is already included in your enterprise license agreement. These are the topics which need to be clarified with your Microsoft software vendor. Does the Jedox integration in Power BI work with Google Chrome?
Yes, we support Google Chrome, Firefox, and all the current browsers.
Thank you very much. How do we import Jedox widget, which has write-back functionality? Do we need to go to Marketplace or Power BI and export it, or it's inbuilt feature of Power BI and Jedox?
So at the moment, the Jedox reports are on a Power BI dashboard, and the dashboards reside in the Power BI online service. And there you have some tiles, and you can add a web tile. I think it's so-called web tile. And in that, you have the possibility to integrate a kind of an iframe code. And in Jedox, you create a link to the report. You put it together with the iframe in that web tile, and there you can integrate the Jedox report. That's how we did the integration here in that demo.
Okay. What kind of license is required for Power BI to access Jedox via OData? So first, the OData license required. That is a new license which is available via Jedox. Is there any other license required, Dominic or Edwin?
I think if you have in Jedox a license for third-party integration, OData is automatically added, and there are some limits on raw data you can load. And if you want the unlimited feature, this is a different license you have to buy. Yeah.
So what access controls are there available for accessing the data in Jedox and showing it in Power BI, Jedox login versus Windows Microsoft login? I think single sign-on is available for Jedox and Power BI.
Yeah. So we actually work as well with the Azure Active Directory, and there we have set up the single sign-on.
Is it possible to get a copy of the recorded session to share with a few key individuals in my organization? Of course, it is possible. Like always, after the webinar, we will do a copy, or we have recorded the session, and we will put that session or the recording of the session on YouTube, and we will share the link with you so that you can share the recorded session with your colleagues. Another question: do the report recipients need to have a Jedox license?
It always depends what they want to or what they need to do with the report. If it is a Jedox report, I think the basis is a viewer license. When they just want to view data, when they want to key in data, they need a planner license. Yeah.
So when you want to have access to Jedox, that's also from my side. When you want to have access to Jedox and want to plan data, then you also have the need to have a right, need to have access to it, which is a user right, and therefore you need a license. Another question looks like forecasted data is handled with 3+9, 6+6, 9+3. What exactly is this displaying, and why is the data input handled like that?
That is a kind of doing forecasts. So the first number represents always the actual data in the system, and the second number is, or in that case, the months, year to go, you have to forecast. But this is not limited to these 3 versions. This is just one way of forecasting. Jedox serves as a platform, and we are able to also include or incorporate different forecasting methods. So yeah, this is just one way of doing the forecast, but as I said, we are not limited to that way of doing forecasts.
So notice the live demo was demonstrated in Firefox. Is that just for demo purposes? Does the actual model or build of models happen in web app, or is there a Jedox app? What is the difference between using Jedox through web app and Jedox app? Thanks.
There are multiple questions, so let's break it down. Firefox, it was just for the demo. I think, as we said, we support all the current browsers on the market. Safari, Edge, Chrome, Firefox. The actual building of the model is in the Jedox web app. We have also the possibility to upload Excel sheets, and they serve also as a basis for the model in Jedox. And then, as Andreas told, we have also the marketplace, which has pre-built models. So there are different ways of building the model in Jedox, but most of the time you work in the Jedox web application.
Yeah. One of the main challenges is multiple ERP. How are you approaching it, and the best solution? So we have an integration layer inside Jedox where you can integrate in almost every single ERP system which is available in the world. And of course, in the moment when the data is in Jedox, it's also in Power BI. So very easy to do. We have an integration layer with 35 plus connectors. Please use the connectors, connect to your ERP system, very easy to do. And then you have the data in the system. Another question was, what kind of row data limits? You said there is a limit on number of rows with OData. There is a limit of number of rows with OData when it comes with the integration, so the free of charge version. If you want to have unlimited row data limits, then you need to buy the real OData license for the OData integration. Do you know the amount of rows, Dominic? Which is a limit?
As far as I know, it's 100,000.
Yeah, okay, 100,000. So we will find it out, what is the real limit, and then send the information. And the last question, do we need to buy OData driver additionally to integrate Jedox with Power BI? No, not if you are below the 100,000 data. If you are above that, yes, you need to buy, you put a little bit of money on top of it and need to buy the OData driver. So this time, the last question, we are 1 minute in front of the full hour. Is the AI functionality in Jedox available when hosted in Power BI? Dominic?
All Jedox functionality is available because Jedox itself is already there, and there are different scenarios you can integrate with Power BI, but in the end, everything is possible to integrate Power BI. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's actually a two separate systems we bring together.
Then the really last question, is it possible to filter OData?
I think that is possible, and my best practice is to use our view concept to filter the data. I hope this answered the question.
Perfectly. Thank you very much. We went through all the questions. Of course, if you want to have further details, we will get in contact with you and provide you more information. Thank you very much to all of you for joining. Thank you very much, Edwin from Microsoft. Thank you very much, Dominic, for that wonderful session. I hope to see all of you soon in one of the next webinars. Please stay healthy and safe. All the best wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much and have a great day.